It's fall in France, and that means it is mushroom season. And this is the time to find all kinds of wild mushrooms. So we have used several different kinds of wild mushrooms, and we have made a tarte au poulet et poireaux aux champignons, or chicken tart with leeks and mushrooms. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. If this is your first time tuning in, let us know you're out there by giving us a big thumbs up below, and then hit that subscribe button to make sure you never miss a video. Now, let's start cooking. One of the most exciting times to be in France is in the fall because of mushroom season. And you may or may not know it, but the French are crazy about their mushrooms. And especially wild mushrooms. So you can always get, button mushrooms, which in France are called champignons de Paris. It's like the little white ones or even the brown ones. Those are cultivated mushrooms. But what's really special this time of year is wild mushrooms. In the case of this recipe that we're doing today, we are using some wild chanterelles. And these are mushrooms that were actually hunted by my friend and neighbor, Catherine Gendron. And I was actually lucky enough to be treated to a mushroom hunt by her son, Pierre. And Pierre took me out to the forest, literally about 4 kilometers from our house, and we spent about 2 or 3 hours, and we found ceps, we found a few chanterelles. These chanterelles his mom had already picked a couple of days before, among several other species of mushrooms, some edible, some not. Fortunately, Catherine is an expert on mushrooms, and she has a book.
It's almost white.
Yes.
You see?
So you can.
They're a bit old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but only with
so this part you can eat
Yeah.
of the set.
everything.
And she knows all about which ones are edible, which ones are not edible. As a matter of fact, there's a book that she has that has a guide to mushrooms, and the ones that are edible all have either 1 fork, 2 forks, or 3 forks next to them, depending on how actual tasty they are when you cook them. And then the ones that you find in the woods that are not tasty and that will make you sick either have a prescription next to them, or they have a hospital bed. So you get a pretty stern warning about which mushrooms are good and which ones are not. And the other wonderful thing about living in France is that any pharmacy in town, you can take your mushrooms after you go picking your wild mushrooms. You can take your mushrooms to any pharmacy in town, and they will be able to tell you if these mushrooms are good to eat or if you should chuck them out. So we'll take a look at our ingredients for this chicken, leek, and mushroom pie. Now, there are so many variations on this. The French are happy to have just leeks and mushrooms in this pie. The British tend to like to add, chicken. It's almost like a chicken pot pie type of thing. So really, you've got almost anything you want that you can do with it. But let's just take a look at what we're using today. We are using some freshly picked chanterelles. So those would be our mushrooms. And I've just got some chicken, some pre-roasted chicken. You can get a rotisserie chicken, or you can do a really nice, boiled chicken and shred that, however you want to do that. So that's our chicken. And then we've got some fresh leeks. It's also leek season. And we've got some beautiful fresh leeks here that I've literally just cut in rings, and I've washed them. Leeks need to be washed thoroughly, by the way, and drained before you cook them, because when they grow, they push up through sand or through dirt, and they tend to collect a lot of dirt. So those are our proteins. Or that's a protein, and look, I guess the mushrooms could be considered a protein. I'm not sure if mushrooms are a protein or not. But anyhow, then we've got some aromatics with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of celery, and then we've got our tarragon and some chopped parsley. And then we're going to use, we're kind of going to cheat on this, but it's just a great pastry to use. I've got a prepared puff pastry that we will actually roll this out just a little bit more than what it already is. We'll roll that out, and that'll be our pastry for our pie. So all those things are good to go, and then what we'll do is we will sweat our vegetables. We'll put our mushrooms in there. We'll add our, then we will deglaze the pan with a little bit of sherry, just a little bit of sherry. And you don't need to use this if you don't want. You could use white wine, you could use sherry. You don't have to use it at all, but it imparts a really nice, deep, rich flavor. And then we've got some chicken stock, and we've got some heavy cream. So that'll be our filling for our pie. And then we've got our crust, which is going to be a puff pastry. And just to finish it off, we've got 1 egg that I've beaten, and we're just going to brush that over the top of our pastry just to bring out that nice, beautiful color. And this is our rolling pin that we'll use to just roll out our pastry dough. So when we get ready to roll out this, whenever you buy a prepared pastry crust, you want to make sure that you go ahead and roll it out just a little bit. And so I've just got a little bit of flour for dusting. In this case, by the way, I am making a gluten-free pie. My wife happens to be allergic to gluten, so we are, or allergic to wheat, I should say. So I've got a gluten-free puff pastry, and I've got gluten-free flour that we'll use to roll that out. To get started, we're using a cast iron skillet today, and I've just got it over a medium heat here. So we're just going to add a little bit of olive oil to that. And this will be so that we can sweat our leeks and our celery. And again, to sweat just means to cook until they're soft and translucent. And we didn't mention this in the ingredients, but I'll put it in the ingredient list. I'm just going to add a little bit of butter to that, just because it just makes everything better. That is literally the only reason. You don't have to add the butter if you don't want, but there's just nothing like some leeks and some onions and some garlic and mushrooms cooked in butter. So we'll just get that going, and we'll go ahead and put our leeks in. And again, we're not looking to color these. We are just looking to cook them until they're soft and translucent. So we will let these go for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll add our celery to it. Once our leeks get started going, we can go ahead and add our celery into the mix. And like I always like to do when we're sweating vegetables, we'll add a little bit of salt. And what that does is just helps draw out the moisture and really just bring some beautiful flavor out of these vegetables. Our leeks are nice and soft, and you need to stir them around every few seconds. Go in and just stir them and make sure everybody's getting the surface of the pan. But that's what we're looking for right there, just nice and soft. And now let's go ahead and add our garlic, and we'll cook that for just a second. Oh wow. Oh my goodness. Talk about the aroma. Once you add that garlic, it just brings everything to life. All right, garlic's in. Now let's go ahead and add our mushrooms. And mushrooms carry quite a lot of water. Apparently they are literally 90% water, so we are going to bring that water to the surface. Let's go ahead and stir them in a little bit. And so they're going to release their water. Wow, look at that. Look how pretty that is. I have to say chanterelles are just a beautiful mushroom. And by the way, these are baby chanterelles. If you're used to seeing chanterelles that look a little bit different, that's probably because you're seeing the American version of chanterelles, which by the way are also called girolles. And but these are just beautiful. That's a beautiful color right there. And again, we'll just add just a little bit of salt over the top of that. And we'll let those cook for about another minute, minute and a half. Our mushrooms have been just cooking away, and they've released a lot of their water, and this is where we want it to be. So we are now to the point of we're going to deglaze our pan with our sherry, and it's just a splash of sherry. As a matter of fact, I had probably a little bit more than 50 liters, but this is really all we want, just a little bit of that. And we're going to cook that until the alcohol disappears. We basically are going to cook this almost dry. But what that does is it imparts a really, really deep, rich flavor. And again, the alcohol will cook out. So don't worry about that part if you don't want to take any alcohol in. But we'll let that cook out, and once that gets fairly dry, most of that liquid has evaporated, then we will go with our chicken stock and our heavy cream.
Hey everybody, it's Walter from Artistic Gourmet Adventures. My wife Kim and I own this unique small group tour company where we host groups of 6 to 12 guests for 1-week luxury adventures in beautiful locations throughout Europe and the United States. I have the privilege of being the adventure chef, creating and preparing daily gourmet meals for our guests. So, in this video series, from our cozy home kitchen here in the beautiful Loire Valley of France, we will demonstrate a wide variety of recipes, from culinary classics to originals, as well as covering professional kitchen techniques for the home chef. For more information on Artistic Gourmet Adventures, check our website, linked in the description below.
As you can see, most of our alcohol is cooked out, or most of the liquid is dissipated. And I think I mentioned that I was putting in 50 liters of sherry. Not quite. It was 50 milliliters of sherry, or about 1/4 of a cup. That's what that is. So now we'll go in with our chicken stock. And we'll bring that. And again, we've got the quantities listed in the recipe below in the description, but use your own judgment. When you are doing this, basically you want the liquid to just barely cover about 3/4 of the contents of your pan. And then you're going to add your cream on top of that. And now what we're going to do with this is we're going to bring this to the boil. And once it starts boiling, we're going to let it reduce for a good probably 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, full disclosure, we went ahead and added some more of the some more mushrooms to it. I added some of the ceps that we picked yesterday. So they are in here, and we have now reduced the liquid, and it's time to add our chicken. So there we go, just some shredded chicken from being roasted. And we'll just get that chicken. Basically what you're doing at this point is getting the chicken warmed through. And let's go ahead and add we're going to add our parsley. Oh boy, beautiful. And our tarragon. And just a word of caution, tarragon is a very strong flavor, so you can use it with a little bit of discretion. And we're just going to season it a little bit. I don't think we need to add any salt to this because we seasoned our vegetables as they were cooking, and we seasoned our first round of mushrooms, so I think we're good on salt. And wow, this aroma is absolutely through the roof. All right, so we'll just get all of our chicken warmed through. And let's see, let's just give it a quick taste. Oh, that's fantastic. Now, honestly, I think it could use just a little bit of salt. So I'm just going to add just a touch of salt to that, and maybe just a little bit of pepper. But other than that, we are good to go. All right, we'll turn this off, and we'll get ready to prepare our crust. We'll turn it off and just let it sit. We are going to roll our pastry out, so I'm just going to put down a little bit of flour. And again, we're using a gluten-free puff pastry. And so I'll put some gluten-free flour down on the bench here to roll that out with. And you can see it's just looking at the size, that's really just about perfect, but I want to get it a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. And so let's go with a little bit of flour over the top there. And so when rolling out pastry, just what I like to do is just take it and go one direction, do a quarter turn, and just go all the way around it. One more time. And now let's flip it. And a couple more rolls. We'll be there. Since I started in the middle, I'll come back toward me. I usually like to just go one direction when I'm rolling. And I think we're wide enough this way, so we're going to go this direction and that direction. So now what I want to do is I am actually going to trim this pastry. I'm just going to go a little bit wider than our pan. So I'm probably going about an inch outside the perimeter of our pan. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a minute. But I'm also going to do another little strip here, just outside this one. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. And again, this is just a little extra touch that I want to do. So what I want to do is take the outside strip that we did. This one we can actually, you know, you could put some butter and some sugar and some allspice or cinnamon or something on that and put that bad boy in the fridge, and it would, I mean in the oven, and it would be just absolutely incredible. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to make a little extra little top here for our pastry. So we're just going to go right around the edge. Now this is I'm using a non-stick pastry pan, so this may be a little bit difficult to do. But I'm just going to go around the edge with this. Okay, so I'm just pressing this down. Just to give us a little surface. Okay. And this part does not have to be pretty, as it is, because it's not. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll go over and we'll fill our pan with our chicken and mushroom and leek filling. And again, this is a pie that doesn't get a bottom crust. Now, the other option for this, of course, is you could certainly do a short crust pastry. You could do a bottom crust as well, and then a top crust. But the classic mushroom and leek pie does not have a bottom crust. And I'm fearing that it's going to be a thin pie because we have put all of our ingredients in, and you know, the hope would be that you really would like for this to fill this vessel all the way up. But this is what we have. So now what we're going to do is take our other crust, and we'll just gently roll that onto our rolling pin. And I'm just going to moisten this top just a little bit. Yeah. There we go. And we will go with our top crust. About like that. Okay. So now what we'll do is I'm just going to press this down. All the way around. And now we'll trim it. We're going to crimp it just a little bit. Just like that. Just going around the edge. If you can see that. And that's going to give us our edge. Okay, so I'm just making just for interest's sake, just making a couple of, a few lines across the crust here, just for visual interest. And again, I'm not cutting all the way through. I'm just scoring it a little bit. And we'll just finish with our beaten egg. And we used an entire egg, not just a yolk. And I may have underestimated my crust here a little bit, or my ingredients, because you really would like to have your ingredients fill this up. Ideally, you'd like for this crust to be just full to the top with pie. But this should work. All right, we've got our oven preheated to 400 Fahrenheit, about 205 centigrade. And we'll put this in the oven. And we're gonna let it go probably 30 minutes or so until this top is nice and brown. And then we'll take it out. It's been right about 31 minutes since we put our pie in. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, nice. Oh, look at that crust. Oh, it's beautiful. It's pulled away a little bit from the edges, but we can live with that. Oh, wow. Fantastic. It is that time. Let's give it a taste. I'm just going to come right here on the edge. Make sure I get some of that amazing puff pastry. And really delicious. And I have not made a secret of the fact that I'm not a huge mushroom fan, but I'm telling you what, this tastes absolutely fantastic. And so I've tasted the ceps. Let's see what the chanterelles are like. Very mild flavor. It's interesting, when we first tasted these chanterelles, they tasted a little bit spicy. Even my wife tasted it. She said it was almost like arugula because it was just a little bit spicy. But now they've really mellowed out, very mild flavor, and just beautiful. So give it a try. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, give us a thumbs up below and hit that subscribe button. It's free. And ring the bell if you want to be notified as soon as we release a new video. Also, let us know in the comments if you have any special recipe requests. We really appreciate you tuning in. See you next time.